if you're a Colorado fan, you need to be rooting for Florida State to rebound this season under Mike Norvell, because if they don't, he will get fired, and Deion Sanders will be hired as his replacement as FSU's new head coach, because Florida State can give Deion Sanders everything that he needs to win a national championship that he doesn't have access to at Colorado. Look, we all want Deion Sanders to bring a national championship to Colorado, but that is incredibly unlikely when you think of the hurdles that Deion Sanders has to overcome to be able to do that. Even though he is a really good coach, winning a national championship in college football is not about the X's and O's. It's about the Jimmys and Joes. And when you have schools like Oregon, Ohio State, and Texas paying $25 million to $30 million per season on their squads, it makes it a huge roadblock that Deion Sanders has to overcome, because he has to be able to win despite being at a talent discrepancy when Colorado ends up making it to the playoffs and they have to go up against some of these juggernaut teams to win a national title. Colorado gave Deion Sanders a fresh new contract extension a few months ago, and his buyout is only $12 million, which is incredibly cheap for a program like Florida State that has an influx of cash flow and a really passionate alumni. Deion Sanders is immortalized in the history of Florida State football. When you think of the Florida State Seminoles football program, Deion Sanders is one of the first names that you put to that Seminoles logo, to that Seminoles brand. And Florida State views themselves as a blue blood in this sport, and there wouldn't be no better way to get more momentum back into that program than hiring Deion Sanders. He'll have more NIL money to put together a good team. He'll have an easier time being able to recruit, being in Tallahassee, having access to all that in-state talent, which wouldn't be too far away. It's harder to lure guys from the state of Florida, at least some of the best players in the Sunshine State, to Boulder, due to Boulder not really being the most attractive destination for guys to want to play college football at, and also Deion Sanders not having the amount of money necessary in NIL to be able to land some of these blue chip 5- and 4-star guys. Yeah, he got Jordan Seaton and Travis Hunter, but the majority of these players are not Jordan Seaton and Travis Hunter. Those guys played for Colorado and got a lot less than what they could have gotten if they went to bigger programs, because they wanted to play for Deion Sanders. And although Deion Sanders' face card makes some guys willing to hear him out and consider playing for him, most of the occasions when Colorado misses out on some of these elite recruits out of high school is because they can't win the building war for them. That's why Deion Sanders has been very vocal about having a salary cap in college football, because it makes it really hard to overcome some of these schools that can just throw millions of dollars at guys when Colorado only has access to so much cash, and they have to be able to spread it out among multiple players on multiple positions so they can have a competitive enough team to just have a good season. So if you already have all of these roadblocks that you have to deal with to build a championship squad at Colorado, it would make sense for Deion Sanders, if the FSU job comes available, to take it. And he's already done what was asked of him when he got to Colorado. He made them relevant, he put them back on the map, and he instilled a lot of buzz into the community and into that program that they haven't had in over 2 decades. And you gave them 2 of the best players ever in that program, and Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders. You have their jerseys retired, and Colorado has done everything they can to appease Deion Sanders, but I believe Colorado's AD and school president know that the Deion Sanders, the primetime train in Boulder, isn't going to last forever. They know that eventually a bigger program is going to come calling, and Deion Sanders eventually will end up coaching at a big-time school like a Florida State. And I'm not saying that Deion Sanders would leave Colorado for just anybody. It has to be a perfect situation for him, and FSU would be that situation. It would be incredibly hard for Deion Sanders to turn down the opportunity to coach the school that he ended up becoming a household name at. So if the FSU job comes available, that would be the worst nightmare for Colorado football, because essentially they make that one phone call to Deion Sanders and he's the first thing up on out of there. Well, JT, what about all the recruits? What about all the players that went to Colorado? These recruits, these guys that transfer to Colorado are transferring to play for Deion Sanders. It is nothing for Deion Sanders to take the Florida State job and for all of those players that committed to play for him to follow him down to Tallahassee. When Marshall recently lost their head coach to Southern Miss, literally their entire team left in the transfer portal to follow him there. So if guys are committed to play for a coach, the transfer portal allows them to follow him anywhere he goes. It didn't matter if Deion Sanders went to the other part of the country. All of his players, Jordan Seaton, Juju Lewis, Amarion Miller, will all follow him wherever he goes, because those guys are at Colorado for Deion Sanders. And if Deion Sanders wants to win a national championship, he needs more resources that Colorado is going to be unable to give him. And I know that a good amount of people are going to disagree with this, and they're going to try to make all kinds of arguments why he won't leave, why he can win a national championship. You're being a little bit delusional. Deion Sanders has done a great job at winning with what he's been able to inherit. But for him to win a national championship, he needs a lot more that Colorado is incapable of being able to give him as compared to Florida State, which we've already seen in the past. Florida State put together a team that was good enough to contend for a national championship because they had way more NIL money, way more richer donors to donate to FSU, to get some of these big-time recruits out of high school, to get those good portal additions. That's what Colorado doesn't really have access to. Deion has been able to elevate a program doing more with less. So imagine what he can do at Florida State. And coaching in the ACC with the star power that Deion Sanders' name has will make it so much more easier for him to win a national championship, because then he can essentially dominate recruiting in the state of Florida because of his name. He also will have the NIL money to compete for some of the guys that he will lose out to at Colorado to schools like Texas and Ohio State and Oregon, because they just can't win a bidding war for certain players with those schools. While at FSU, Deion Sanders will be able to win those recruiting battles. He will be able to win those bidding wars. For all of you Colorado guys who are going to get upset and you're going to get your panties in a bunch over this because you believe that Deion Sanders can bring a national championship to Colorado, I'm going to remind you again, college football is not all about the X's and O's. It's about the Jimmies and the Joes. And the teams that are consistently competing for national championships, what do they all have in common? They have elite recruiting because they got a lot of money to pour into it. And they also are able to go out and get the best guys available in the portal when necessary. If that FSU job comes open, if Mike Norvell gets fired, I expect Deion Sanders to end up filling that vacancy, because I just can't see him passing up the opportunity to coach Florida State and to be a lot closer to home.